Border casinos used to be everywhere. Stateline, Jean, Primm, Mesquite, Wendover. The strategy was simple. Build casinos right at the Nevada border. Catch tourists from California, Utah, Idaho before they reach Vegas or Reno. For 40 years, it worked. Border towns thrived. Casinos were packed. Then Indian gaming happened. State lotteries happened. Online gambling happened. Suddenly, nobody needed to cross into Nevada to gamble. They could do it at home. Border casinos started closing, one by one, year after year. This is the complete list. Every major border casino that closed, why they failed, what's left, and why the border casino era is over. Primm had 3 casinos 45 miles south of Vegas. Whiskey Pete's, Buffalo Bill's, Primm Valley Resort, all built to catch LA tourists driving to Vegas. Whiskey Pete's closed December 2024. That's 13 months ago. Buffalo Bill's closed July 2025, 6 months ago. Primm Valley Resort is the only one still open, and it's barely operating. Indian casinos opened across Southern California. Pechanga, Morongo, San Manuel, Pala, Siquan. California residents no longer needed to drive to Nevada. COVID was the final blow. Whiskey Pete's Hotel stopped taking reservations in March of 2020 and never resumed. 2/3 of Primm's gaming capacity is gone in just 7 months. Primm Valley is limping along. The Fashion Outlets Mall is down to 1 tenant. The town is dying. The Bonnie and Clyde death car, Whiskey Pete's famous attraction, the actual bullet-riddled 1934 Ford, has been moved 3 times in 3 years, from Whiskey Pete's to Buffalo Bill's to Primm Valley. Even the artifacts are being shuffled around. Jean is a tiny border town even closer to California than Primm. It had 3 casinos, Terrible's, Gold Strike, Nevada Landing. Terrible's closed in 2020 and is currently being demolished. Gold Strike closed in 2020. Nevada Landing closed in 2007 and was demolished. The reason Jean failed is the same as Primm, but worse, even smaller, even less reason to stop. When Indian casinos opened in California, Jean became completely obsolete. All 3 casinos are closed. Terrible's is being actively demolished as of 2025 and 2026. Jean is a ghost town with gas stations and nothing else. Jean proves the border casino model is dead. Not declining, dead. 0 casinos remain in a town that once had 3. Stateline is a different border town. Same concept. Stateline, Nevada sits directly on the California border at Lake Tahoe. It has 4 major casinos: Harrah's, Harvey's, Mont Bleu, and what used to be Hard Rock. These properties are still open, but struggling significantly. They're different from Primm and Jean because Lake Tahoe is a year-round tourist destination. Skiing, summer recreation. The properties are larger and more established. They're not dependent solely on California drive-through traffic, but they're still declining. Hard Rock Lake Tahoe closed in 2018 and reopened as Bally's Lake Tahoe, but operating at reduced capacity. The market is weaker than it was. Indian casinos in Northern California, Thunder Valley, Cache Creek, Grayton, have reduced Tahoe's gaming appeal. People gamble locally instead of driving to Tahoe. The properties are still operating but not thriving. The border location doesn't provide the advantage it once did. Wendover sits on the Utah-Nevada border, 90 miles west of Salt Lake City. 5 casinos were built there to capture Utah tourists who couldn't gamble in their home state. The Peppermill Wendover closed in 2020 but reopened in 2023 under new ownership. Montego Bay is still open. Rainbow is still open. Red Garter is still open. The Nugget is still open. But Wendover is struggling. Utah hasn't legalized commercial or tribal casinos yet, so Wendover still has a captive market. But online gambling reduces the urgency to visit. Salt Lake City is expanding west, making Wendover less isolated. Competition from other regional casinos is increasing. Peppermill Wendover closed during COVID and reopened 2023 under new ownership, Maverick Gaming, but at reduced capacity. Wendover casinos are still operating because Utah remains strict on gambling, but the market is weaker than the 1990s and 2000s peak. The moment Utah allows any form of expanded gambling, Wendover is finished. Mesquite sits 80 miles north of Vegas on Interstate 15. It's a border town built to catch Utah tourists driving to Vegas. At peak, it had 7 casinos. The Oasis closed in 2020 and never reopened. Virgin River closed in 2020 and was demolished in 2023. Casablanca closed in 2014. What's left? Eureka Casino is barely operating. Rising Star Sports Ranch is a small local property. Virgin Hotels Mesquite has rebranded but is struggling. Mesquite failed for the same reason as Wendover, but worse. Utah tourists driving to Vegas would stop in Mesquite. Then online gambling reduced the need to visit. Vegas became easier to reach with better highways. Tribal casinos in surrounding states provided alternatives. COVID killed several properties permanently. Mesquite went from 7 casinos to maybe 4 barely operating properties. The town is dying. Golf courses are struggling. Retirement communities are the only thing keeping Mesquite alive, not casinos. Laughlin sits on the Colorado River directly across from Bullhead City, Arizona. It was built in the 1980s and 90s as a budget alternative to Vegas. At peak, it had 11 casinos. River Palms closed in 2020 and was demolished in 2023. Regency Casino closed in 2020. Colorado Bell closed permanently and is being integrated into other properties. Edgewater has reduced operations and is partially closed. 7 casinos are still operating, but all of them are struggling. Don Laughlin's Riverside, Harrah's Laughlin, Tropicana Laughlin, Golden Nugget Laughlin, Aquarius, Edgewater in limited capacity, and Pioneer in limited capacity. Laughlin is declining because Arizona has tribal casinos everywhere now. Arizona residents don't need to drive to Nevada. Laughlin's market disappeared. Laughlin isn't dead like Gene, but it's dying. River traffic is down. Hotel. Occupancy is weak. Several properties are zombie casinos, technically open but barely operating. The Colorado River tourism is the only thing keeping Laughlin alive. Without the river, it would be Gene. Jackpot. Nevada sits on the Idaho border in the middle of nowhere. It was built to capture southern Idaho tourists. It had 4 casinos. Cactus Pete's is still open, barely. Horsey Shoe is still open, barely. Barton's Club 93 is closed. 4 Jacks is closed. Jackpot is struggling because Idaho has expanded tribal gaming. Idaho residents have closer options now. Jackpot is remote, in the middle of nowhere on Highway 93. It's not on a major interstate. The drive from Boise to Jackpot is 2 hours through nothing. People don't make that trip anymore. 2 casinos remain barely operational. Cactus Pete's and Horsey Shoe operate at minimal capacity. They survive because there's literally nothing else out there, not because they're thriving. Jackpot is a zombie border town. Not dead, not alive. McDermott sits on the Oregon-Nevada border. It's a tiny town. It had the Say When Casino. Say When Casino closed years ago. The building still stands, but it's abandoned. McDermott failed because Oregon legalized lottery. Oregon has tribal casinos. McDermott is in the middle of nowhere with almost no population. There was never a viable market. The casino existed because it could, not because it should. The casino is dead. The building is abandoned. There are no plans for anything. The Indian Gaming Regulatory Act of 1988 allowed tribal casinos on reservations. California, Arizona, Oregon, Idaho, and states near Utah all developed tribal gaming. Suddenly, residents of those states didn't need Nevada. The numbers tell the story. California has 60-plus tribal casinos. Arizona has 20-plus tribal casinos. Oregon has 9 tribal casinos. Idaho has 7 tribal casinos. Nevada's border casino advantage evaporated. States that previously banned all gambling started allowing lotteries. California Lottery launched 1985. Arizona Lottery in 1981. Idaho Lottery in 1989. Oregon Lottery in 1985. Once states allowed some gambling, The taboo broke. Tribal casinos followed. Then commercial gaming expansion. Border casinos were only valuable when neighboring states banned everything. Once they allowed anything, the dam broke. Online gambling is legal in several states now. Sports betting is legal in 38+ states. You can gamble on your phone in California, Arizona, Oregon. Why drive to Nevada? Border casinos depended on gambling being illegal at home and legal in Nevada. That distinction is disappearing. Many border casinos were already struggling before COVID. The pandemic shutdowns killed them. Primm properties closed March 2020. Some never reopened. Jean properties closed 2020, never reopened. Mesquite properties closed 2020, several were demolished. COVID accelerated a trend that was already happening. Vegas got too good. Reno improved. Why stop at a border town casino when world-class resorts are 2 hours away? The border casino pitch was gamble here before you reach the real destination. But that's not a compelling value proposition when the real destination is so much better. Border casinos were previews. Previews don't compete with the main event. Here's what's still operating, barely. In Primm, only Primm Valley Resort remains, the last one out of 3. In Wendover, 5 properties are still open, but the market is weakening. In Mesquite, 4 properties are operating at reduced capacity. In Laughlin, 7 properties are still open, but all of them are struggling. In Jackpot, 2 properties are barely operating. At Lake Tahoe Stateline, 4 major properties are still open, but that's a different market because of year-round tourism. Here's what's already dead. In Jean, all 3 casinos are closed, and Terrible's is being demolished. In Primm, Whiskey Pete's and Buffalo Bill's are closed. In Mesquite, the Oasis, Virgin River, and Casablanca are closed. In Laughlin, River Palms, Regency, and Colorado Belle are closed. In McDermott, Say When Casino is abandoned. The remaining border casinos will continue closing. Not all at once, but steadily. Border casinos weren't successful because they were on borders. They were successful because neighboring states banned gambling. The border didn't matter. The monopoly mattered. When Indian gaming, state lotteries, and online gambling broke the monopoly, border casinos lost their purpose. Nevada thought the border was the advantage. It wasn't. The legal monopoly was the advantage. Nevada built an entire industry on a temporary regulatory situation. When that situation changed, the industry collapsed. Border towns should have diversified when they had the chance. Build tourism infrastructure beyond gambling. Develop other industries. Instead, they doubled down on casinos. Now they're ghost towns. Vegas isn't a border casino. Vegas is a destination. That distinction matters. Border casinos failed because they depended on captive markets. Vegas succeeds because people choose to visit. But Vegas should pay attention. If gambling becomes fully legal and accessible everywhere, online, tribal casinos in every state, commercial casinos nationwide, does Vegas lose its advantage? Not entirely. Vegas is entertainment, conventions, nightlife, dining. But the gaming revenue that funds everything, that could decline if gambling is everywhere. Border casinos are the warning. Monopolies don't last forever. Did you ever stop at a border casino? Which ones do you remember? Let me know in the comments. If you want more Vegas deep dives, subscribe to Vegas Vault. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.